Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here with superfan Heath Goldman, superfan Devin Circus, and Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast, and this is Week 14's recap of Jungle Talk. Hey, come on. It's been a while since we could celebrate a victory, so everybody, whatever you're drinking, hold it up. Come on, I got my whiskey cube. Everybody's got something. There we go, and there we go. It's a win. It's a gift win, but it's a win. So
hey, at some point we had to catch a break. It took 14 weeks. We got a goddamn break.
Well, they literally rip Burrow's head around. We get another Linda Blair impression, and they don't call it. It's like I'm still trying. Heath and I were talking before we started recording, saying they've got a replay review, a replay assist on those personal fouls has to step in. They have to make a change in the offseason and say, hey, there was roughing, something like that. So we don't, because that's ridiculous. It's Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, twice on Burrow. I mean, they're blatant. And it's always the ball carrier. How do you not see the person with the ball getting his head turned around? I just don't understand it.
And Bucker Aikman said it best, especially when it's the quarterback.
Yeah, how do you miss that?
Quarterback. There's two guys watching it. There was talk, and I don't remember if it was the Burrow one against Baltimore or one of the other ones, but I thought I heard talk that they're going to discuss if it's possible to do the what do they call the quick
replay assist?
Expedited review.
Expedited review. So they're going to look into whether it's feasible. Obviously, they don't want to slow the game down on the regular booth review.
Right.
But it sounds like they'll explore if it's possible.
Just make it challengeable.
Right.
I mean, they did that after the Rams Saints game, and it was an abject.
But that was pass interference, which is subjective.
Yeah, personal
face mask is objective.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. The 1 year when pass interference was challengeable was the biggest, was a complete disaster. I think it got overturned one time out of the whole year. Right?
But they centralized it in New York instead of having a booth referee where they could speed up the process. So I think it would work a lot different now with the replay assist in the stadium.
Yep. So replay assist is quick, man. There's times where we're still talking about whether it was right, watching the game,
and they correct it.
Yoshavash incomplete. That was a replay assist that was damn quick. But one funny one on that, and Jake and I were talking about that as that happened. We're watching Zach lose his head, and we're like, what is he so pissed at as the replay is playing it? It's amazing how they see that at field level. Like Taylor saw it live, and I don't know how the refs miss it. I mean, we can miss it watching at home, but for the coaches to see it, and look, it was a crowded pocket, but I'm not making excuses. Go back to that Sam Darnold one that you mentioned.
Oh, that's
nobody anywhere near that one was god awful.
Or Burrow's on the 2-point conversion.
The Ravens
was against the Ravens. So So before I forget, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. This is a show by fans, for fans. Please support the channel. Hit the thumbs up on the YouTube analytics. It helps us out a lot with YouTube. And Jake, tell them where they can find your podcast, because you do some great podcasts.
Jake Circus podcast on Spotify. We have not uploaded an episode in a while, but we're trying.
All right.
It's been a while.
So Devin didn't get his Monday morning
no, he did not.
podcast to listen to, because you were just saying.
I had to search for a podcast today, and it wasn't a good one.
No, it wasn't. It's hard to top your sons. I mean, come on.
I know. I love his stuff.
So I have just a few. The horrible officiating we're already talking about. And then it's the Nick Vigil, former Bengal, blocks the punt.
Oh, that's right.
He's our former Utah State linebacker. We drafted him. And
I didn't realize that was him, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Vigil, former Bengal, blocks the punt. And it looks like, we're going to, and then you just get somebody who doesn't understand the rules. I mean, stay away from the ball. I mean,
fire. That was
you just run, let it. They would have got it at like the 45. They have a great kicker, so they for sure take the lead, and then we get the ball and try to tie the game or win the game. So would have been a different ending. Not to say we wouldn't have won, but that was a gift. Sending Burrow back out there, you could see they almost responded just like we do when we think we're going to win and then we don't win, right? Like the overtime against the Ravens, and Derrick Henry rips one up because it just took 2 plays and they just looked like they quit. I mean, the way Chase scored, that was just easy. So
my daughter lives in Dallas, so she ended up going to the game. She's not a huge football fan, so she texted me with like 2.5 minutes left. She's like, "You guys may win." I'm like, "They're going to screw they're going to screw the whole season up." I said, "I was hoping for just a very competitive game right to the last minute, and I'll take the loss just to secure, just to reinforce our draft position." Of course, they go out and win this game.
I was thinking
we're going to win 4 out of 5 and finish 8 and 9 and pick 15.
Yeah, well, I've said this the last 2 weeks, and I know that Rapian or whatever said the same thing in his podcast last week, but I said it 2 weeks ago. I'm afraid that we're going to win 4 out of 5, and the Bengals are going to say, "See, we don't need to make any changes," and most of the staff's going to come back, and that's the worst thing that can happen because this team needs a major overhaul in attitude.
This team's so bad. I don't see us winning 4 out of 5. But look, the fact of the matter is the playoff chances. I think I saw we around 25%. They ain't quitting. They're going to keep. And obviously, we've talked about this for the last several years. There is no tanking in the NFL. Go back to the Miami Tyler Boyd game. You just don't tank in the NFL. Windows are too short. There's too few games. There's too much money at stake. NBA, they're really good at tanking. Baseball, they got it down. There's no tanking in the NFL.
Right. Well, I'm not saying tank. I'm just concerned that the team will artificially think things are okay, and they're not.
The line is dreadful, and the defense is good. We made Rico Dowdle look like a Pro Bowler tonight, and he's garbage. He had to have had close to 100 yards. 130, 18 carries for $131 for Rico.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dowdle.
Yeah. I have him on my fantasy team. I started him tonight, so won my game. So on to the playoffs, but
that's fine. I had Burrow and Chase tonight.
Did you? Okay. So, but that was I had that. Those were the 2 big notes. I mean, I talked about, it's typical. Pratt misses a tackle on CeeDee Lamb for a loss. It turns into a huge play, and I went. I wrote it down. I said that is just so typical of our season, right there. Almost. Yeah. So
I'd love to know if anybody can look it up quickly. Jake, you're great at this stats. How many missed tackles Pratt has this season? I mean, it's an extraordinary number.
Well, the whole team, but Pratt has actually had a pretty good season. So, but the whole team.
I just said he has got tremendous missed tackles. He's always right there, and the next thing you know, it's an 18 or 20-yard gain down the field.
Well, I think statistically, Pratt's going to look pretty good when Jake tells you what it is.
So his grades aren't very good. He does have the 6th most missed tackles in the league entering into this game.
Okay.
He's factoring in yesterday's games too, so he's 4 off the lead. So I wonder if
he may have got the lead tonight.
if he just had 2 missed tackles tonight, he would.
He did.
Oh, he did. He missed the CeeDee Lamb. So he's right. Okay. He's
let's just.
But Jake, is there a formula or a stat to kind of make it proportionate? Because I got to think a middle linebacker and the way he plays, he's got a hell of a lot more opportunities than
right.
Yeah, his missed tackle percentage is much lower.
Okay,
at 12%.
Is that fair for his position, for the linebacker position?
For his career, it's the most. His 2nd highest missed tackle percentage.
Right.
Devin was giving me the evil eye, and I'm like, it's bad.
Well, no, but I agree with him in terms of
he missed a ton.
I mean, isn't Peyton Manning like the league leader lifetime in interceptions?
Right.
But it's how long he's played in the position he's played.
Hank
it's not a reflection of Peyton Manning.
Strikeouts, I think.
What's that?
I think Hank Aaron's the all-time leader in strikeouts. Right.
Exactly.
Got the most missed field goals in NBA history.
Right. So.
By the way, I thoroughly enjoyed. Did anybody see Kate York's girlfriend after the first extra point?
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
I want to know how an unemployed kicker gets that as a girlfriend.
They talked about it on the
Well,
broadcast.
no, I know. They said that they met at some training thing, and that's where the Cowboy cheerleaders were. But I was like, you know, that's a pretty good get for
Hey,
a
well, thank the
for
Lord
a
for it.
journeyman kicker who was unemployed. That's
Hey, what do you have? 2 field goals and the next couple extra points,
oh,
right?
he was
He's already had
perfect.
2.
He was
Did you
perfect.
did you
We
guys
need to
hear
get
on
her
the
on our
broad
travel squad, and take her with us the rest of the season. So he's
did,
got the peer pressure.
did you
So
hear the broadcast talking about what won him the job this week?
so oh yeah, that he could kick it out of the end zone.
They said that was Zach Taylor's #1 requirement playing against the
Right.
Cowboys. Kick it through
Yeah.
the end zone so Turpin never touches the ball. And we talked about that on Thursday. That's what was
Yeah.
funny.
No, we did. So, but
Kid, that kid catches a ball and takes off. I'm faster than any human being I've seen back there. It's unbelievable. I'd never seen him play.
I was surprised they didn't try to get him in an ISO more that on offense. They tried a couple times, but it wasn't a real big effort. I would have thought McCarthy would have tried to do more with Turpin out there as a wide receiver. So
I'll,
we'll see
I'll
now.
ask I'll ask a question because you guys watch the game very differently, and I always admit it. I actually saw some legit different play calls today from Zach Taylor that actually got people into space and open. I mean, did you see something different today than normal?
I saw him almost lose the game
Oh,
with that
here we go.
But
Here we
that's
go.
normal.
with
That's
that field goal
normal.
kick.
We were saying out of the normal Zach Taylor.
Um, I mean, look, the Bengals have the top 3 offense in the league. I don't think any of us can really complain about the way the offense has been called. And today they needed to get the ball out quick, and for the most part it was, and there were some guys schemed open. Um, I looked at the initial numbers. I don't know if these are going to be because PFF does this stupid stuff where it's like their in-game grades, and sometimes they're not really accurate. And Burrow's pressure numbers were a little bit lower than what I thought they were going to be. Um,
Right.
but there was nothing downfield. I mean, he only attempted 2 passes, 20 or more yards. He had, I think, 320 yards. 260 of those yards were on passes thrown 10 yards or less. So it was a lot of, ball was out very, very quick. Micah Parsons has, for years we've talked, especially like Bengals fans and I guess Ravens fans, TJ Watt versus Myles Garrett and who's better. And, they
Right.
basically have traded Defensive Player of the Year awards for the last few years. Micah Parsons has the best motor I think I've ever seen out of a defensive player. I mean, that guy plays every single snap and he plays every play like it's his last. I mean, he gets shot out of a cannon every single rep. And I don't know how he doesn't have 20 sacks every year. He's unbelievable.
Right.
And how do you put a backup guard out there at left tackle and expect him to hold Micah Parsons away from Burrow? I mean,
Well,
Mims was on
Mims
him
tonight.
Mims was on him the whole game.
But he got by Mims a couple times. I mean,
Yeah,
Mims
well,
struggles with speed, so
But for what it's worth, and they got to Joe. He got hit 8 times. Micah Parsons, 0 tackles, 0 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits,
Wow.
no sacks.
he got more than 2.
That does not mean that he was not out there. The
I know.
tackles for loss is because I mean, look, all those are context stats. And I mean, you turn on the game, the Bengals
He affected the
were
game.
structuring their offense to avoid Micah Parsons getting any of those
100%.
stats. I mean, they were running away from him. The play action was away from where it was towards. It wasn't towards like they were booting away to like have Micah be towards Burrow's blind side. I mean, that one play where Burrow got popped, where the ball was out so quick, he saw him. If he was on, like I was like surprised that Micah was on that end tonight and to not affect Burrow's blind side more because I feel like he probably would have gotten a fumble or two on Burrow on some of those free runs.
I didn't understand.
I don't know if you were Jake. I don't know if you were there. They were talking about it on the broadcast. They said that Zimmer said Parsons has free reign to line up wherever he wants, and it was I was thinking about that too, Jake. That's a great point. He never went to the blind side against Cody Ford. He went against Mims all night.
Dev, I don't think that's true. Cody Ford had a couple holds on him, and then for some reason, at some point, it may have been similar to what you were saying. They said something to that. They've been trying to get him off that left side and to the right side. I didn't see him, where he was coming from, but there was a couple on Cody Ford that at one point Aikman and Buck said something.
Yeah, a couple, yes, and to the point where they just said, "Hey, he's switched now." But at least 80% of the game, he was on Mims's side.
Well, but
Yeah.
they said he likes that side.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was 36-11 in terms of on the left side.
okay, there you go.
And maybe it's simple as maybe the better player is the left tackle, and he likes going against the right tackle, although he's good enough that it shouldn't matter.
Right.
I don't know.
And I'd rather go on Volson's side than Mims.
I mean, tipped passes too. You could affect the game that way.
Right.
Tate Burrow, more likely to throw to the right.
Yep.
Especially when the ball's out quick. And I don't think he had any tipped passes tonight or anything. But who knows?
No,
I mean, it's all a feel. Like it's all a feel. But I mean, once Overshown went down, the Cowboys pass rush was really not that impactful. And that's a big injury for a team. I don't know if the Cowboys really have any playoff hopes left, but DeMarcus Lawrence is already out.
Right.
Micah has missed time, and obviously now Overshown, who's this stud that everyone is falling in love with,
That guy's
goes
good.
down.
He is good.
Yeah. And Micah after the game was, I mean, really upset. Really upset, deservingly so.
Yeah, he was distraught. I saw that too, Jake.
Yeah.
He was in the tunnel and everybody was shaking hands.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think he's
the
best player in football, pound for pound. I think he's the best player in football.
Yeah. I was disappointed in the Bengals offense second half. I mean, they came out, they were shut out in the third quarter, only scored 3 points to tie the game. And then, aside from, that block punt that wasn't a block punt, or was, but what turned out to be a turnover, that's the only touchdown we get. I mean, we put up 10 and 7 was Dallas assisted. So, you had to be disappointed with, especially Overshown's out of the game, and you don't pop, a couple good drives in there, at least one. So,
well, the one drive with the interception, they were down close to the red zone.
Yes, they were.
So,
and then Zach Taylor takes away by kicking on 4th and 2 in the low red zone. I mean, I don't know how. Dad, we were talking about it. I don't know how you're defending that.
I'm fine with that kick in a tie game.
So,
10 minutes left in the game.
Okay, well, we lose that game if that pump doesn't get blocked. Brandon Aubrey can kick from the midfield. But Bengals lose. The Bengals lose that game if that punt doesn't get blocked.
There's 10 minutes left in the game. Put up 3 points, tie the game, and ensure you don't lose on a touchdown.
Jake, we beat Pittsburgh if Jeremy Hill doesn't fumble too, but he did.
Right. Well,
no, I'm just saying, like, just because the punt gets blocked, so nobody's
talking
about Zach Taylor.
I had to carry him in bed.
But if the Bengals lose that game by 3, I guarantee you, everybody on Twitter is going to be talking that red zone field goal. I mean, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It wasn't 4th and 6.
In this day and age, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because the right decision could turn out wrong and the wrong decision could turn out right. Go ask the college playoff committee who should be in SMU or Alabama. No matter.
No, but I can live.
You're going to get damned for it.
But I can live with Zach Taylor going for 2 and losing to Baltimore. I mean, if this game had any significance and the Bengals lost by 3, I wouldn't be okay with that. I'm not okay with losing in overtime to Baltimore because you run the ball 3 times and kick a 52-yard field goal. There's decisions that you make.
Different situation. I agree with you on both those.
It's all the same thing. It's all him being scared. It's all him coaching scared to lose. He's done this for 5 years.
We talked about this. Trying not.
10 minutes left in the game. It
doesn't matter how much time's left.
I disagree.
You have the worst defense. This situation's even worse because you have a bad defense, and the opposing kicker can kick from midfield in that stadium.
Right.
Because your defense is so bad, make sure you tie the game so that when they give up a touchdown, you can still tie it up. Look, we can do this for days. We did it the whole 4th quarter watching the game.
But I'll tell you, I agree with Jake in that.
Out of the coach, Zach Taylor.
You're in. I will say this, and again, this is why the block punt saved him. The Bengals were at the 15 or 16 yard line. They had 4th and 2, down 3. They kicked the field goal. They never got that close to scoring again. Even with the block punt, it was an explosive busted play because Jamar is insane. They never got that close. So,
but they
like,
did.
I know, like, you can't, like, the fallacy of the predetermined outcome. It doesn't, like, don't know if that really applies here, but they were trying to score every time they had the ball, and they never got that close again.
Right.
And the Cowboys only had one possession.
I agree with Jake in that, just like in putting, if you putt not to miss, you're never going to make it.
1-2 step away from the ball, you're going to miss the putt.
You've got to. You're putting to make the putt, not miss the putt.
Jake and I can do this for days, and oftentimes we do. The generation that Jake represents, that we're not, doesn't take into account any emotion, any time of game, locker room, anything. It's completely a mathematical formula. I respect it. I understand it. But our generation takes into account, do you go for 2 and the win instead of the extra point in the overtime and risk losing the locker room, letting the guys fight it out in overtime? The clock is a key component to what our generation thinks. And I'm not going to go die. I will fall on the sword or whatever the term is. I can't come up with the right expression. 10 minutes left in the game. You don't give up points.
How about this? And I just found this.
And I was going to say something about, did Dan Campbell lose the locker room in Detroit? He goes for
first
5
of all,
times 4th down. I mean, once from his own 30. So
first of all, the first part of your statement, Dad, was that my generation. So this is a generation that wins Super Bowls, the generation that is continues to hiring coaches that know what to do in these situations. 4th and 2 from the 10-yard line. So it wasn't the 15; it was the 10-yard line. 4th and 2, the Bengals win percentage if they kick the field goal is 48%. Their win percentage if they go for it, go meaning they get it or they don't, 52%. If Zach Taylor made the Bengals favored to lose just by kicking that field goal, plus 4.6%, it was the most egregious field goal decision of the Bengals this season. 4.6% of win probability. And I didn't even know that. I mean, in the moment, it was bad. And now it's the worst decision he's made.
4 minutes left in the game. I go for it 100 times out of 100. But I still feel it's different with 10 and a half minutes left on the clock. And I think that makes a difference. Or excuse me. To me, I'll just say it. To me, it makes a difference.
Well, I hope that all the coaches that you love so much that make these awful decisions, and all of them are going to get fired in the next 3 years. Hopefully, more of them can have block punts get muffed, and they can win the game.
Hey, one of them's about to get hired at One of them's about to get hired at North Carolina and start recruiting again.
I don't know that I've ever seen a punt get blocked that led to a turnover.
Nope.
I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Yeah,
that could be one of the craziest things in the history of sports. Bill Belichick even considering going back to college and dealing with recruiting and
I don't think.
You know what's funny?
Putting
Actually,
his name out there to get hired in the NFL.
Right. This was a carrot to say, "Hey, listen, guys, I'm interviewing." So, but this was a message to other NFL teams that he's available.
Yeah. I saw if you watched, I saw a clip from the Fox Morning Show yesterday, and it was absolutely hysterical. Gronk and not Edelman. Yeah, Gronk and Edelman are on there, and they're talking about it, and they're like, there's no chance Bill's going to coach in college. Could you imagine him recruiting? And then they're just going back and forth, and one of them says to the other, he's going to sit down on a couch with a recruit and look at him and his parents and say, you're not really good enough, but we've got a spot. You can come and try, but you're not going to play, and you're no good. I mean, with justice, but it was freaking hysterical.
It'll be that the monotone press conferences that he used to do. That's the kind of energy. Can you see him putting parents to sleep in their living room?
Somebody said his girlfriend was doing a tour of campus.
Well, she applied. Yeah, she applied to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's the way he.
I want to say one last thing, going back to the young coaches thing. The only young coach, not counting Sean McVay because he's a fake sharp. He graduated from the fake sharp club for going for it yesterday and winning the game because of it.
And that was a good one, by the way.
Sean McVay, disciple, Zach Taylor, coaches like, can I say a bad word on here?
Yeah.
Coaches like a pussy.
Yes, that's
That was
the
bad.
only
Oh,
the only
wow.
young coach.
Oh God! Stop the presses. We're gonna have to bleep that.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know if
I'm
there's
kidding.
children.
That was
I don't know
nothing.
if there's children watching this, but
Pussy. That's all you said.
the only coach, I mean, Jonathan Gannon coaches like a winner. Shane Steichen coaches like a winner. D'Amico Ryan sometimes coaches like a winner, but he's more of a defensive guy. The only guy that's gotten hired in the last 3 years that coaches like a fucking pussy every single week is Brian Callahan. And why do you think he coaches like a pussy?
Because who did he learn from?
Disciple. The only one. He's the only one. I thought Brian Callahan was a good hire because I thought he'd be a little more aggressive.
I thought he was going to tear it up there.
No,
he's not. He's not as sharp as you call it, Jake.
Oh no, he is awful. Just it comes to the fourth down decisions. He has punted. It is just awful. And I know he has Will Levis as quarterback.
By the way,
which makes what Zach Taylor does even worse because he has Joe Burrow as quarterback.
Pierce has been awful with some of his decisions.
Antonio Pierce wasn't a young hotshot sharp. The only reason Antonio Pierce had a job was because he won a couple of games as the interim in the Raiders, and nobody else wanted that job.
Well, and they didn't give Bisaccia the job the previous year. Hired McDaniels. That's the guy who should have got the job. I mean, with the whole Ruggs thing and got it
the best.
Yeah, that's. And so I think it was. We don't want to let the guy who's the locker room is following get away. So that was the Pierce hire.
Yep. And last night, Jim Harbaugh punted from midfield twice in the first quarter. Didn't score enough points to beat Mahomes.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, no.
All right, I'm gonna change it up because Jake, you're always right. No, I'm kidding. But moving on. Interesting.
You needed to record that and make that his ringtone. Jake, you're always right. You needed that soundbite.
That will be clipped.
There you go.
So interesting part of the game. Jamar obviously was absolutely sensational. 14 for $177.
Yeah.
Counted for half of Burrow's yards. Throw in the 6 checkdowns to Chase. So 20 of Burrow's 33 receptions were to Jamar or checkdowns. Look, I fully admit I've been a ping pong ball all year long on the pay T, fuck T, pay T, fuck T. T was an absolute non-event tonight, and Burrow threw for 360. We gained 450 yards. I don't know what that means, but I don't know. I mean, the one thing I will say is that game was over when Jamar scored that touchdown. The only thing that popped into my head was the scene from Rounders when Matt Damon took down the Russian. Pay that man his money. Just give Jamar his fucking money. Let's move on. But right. I honestly don't know how I feel about T. Higgins right now. And
I'm telling you, I'm in Jake's camp, and there's nobody else on this team besides Hendrickson that you need to pay, and he has had his games. He probably had digs on him. I'd have to go back and watch, but
Dick isn't very good. He did have digs on him.
Whatever it was, they took away T.
Bland shut him. No, Bland shut him down, and that one route in the end zone, Burrow was pissed. T did not run a very good route. Bland normally does very well on those red zone goal line fades.
Right.
T did not finish. T ran a very uncompetitive route. But to answer your question, it's very simple as this. Tonight was the reason why Jamar is going to get $35 million a year and T isn't.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't mean that T is not a key valuable piece to the team. Because when those guys are together, both of them and thus the offense are better. It's that simple. It's not like
I know.
This
I know.
Right.
This is not a 1A debate. It's not who's going to get more money. This is not a who are you keeping. It's Jamar's going to get paid, and he should as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're 100% right. When T's out there, it makes Jamar better, even if T doesn't have a big game.
Thank you.
And you know what? Mark and I sat 12 rows up and watched T. Higgins have an unbelievable game against the Chargers.
Right.
I mean, when he is healthy, and I get your point, Devin, you've said it long and long, and we've all agreed with you. When he's healthy, he is one of the elite receivers in the game. And he just makes he just makes Jamar.
He's played 3 or 4 in a row. He might be up to 70% of the played.
One last thing on just why those two together. When those two are together, you make the other team play zone coverage. And when you're playing zone coverage against Burrow, that's when you're going to get torched. When you're playing Jamar, you can get away with manning up everybody because then you can bracket Jamar and you really shut down that, and then someone else has to win. You really cannot play man to man when both those two guys are out there, your only chance is just jailbreak blitzing, and then Burrow's going to torch you with that anyway. So you got to play zone against those guys, and that's where Burrow's really good.
And I'll tell you, Chase Brown. I mean, I know Devin's been a huge fan of Chase Brown's for a while, but I'll tell you what, he can catch that ball coming out of the backfield too. He does dump downs, and he hits the
yeah. Whether he can or can't, and I think he can, the Bengals certainly think he can, because that's like that wheel route to the end zone. I mean, there's not many teams that scheme up when you have Jamar and Higgins. There's not many teams that scheme up a running back wheel route on second down in the high red zone. So I mean, Chase Brown
actually wasn't a wheel route, Jake. He was split wide.
Yeah, you're right. No,
he
you're
was
right.
split wide, and it was a great defensive play to take away the touchdown. Because the ball was thrown perfectly. So
I mean, he ran
it was a great defensive play.
Chase Brown ran more routes than Yoshi tonight, 32 to 31.
Wow.
Right.
And Buck was mentioning it on the broadcast as the Bengals have done a lot less 3 wide receiver sets, because they're trying to becoming a 12 personnel team with 2 tight ends in there, and that lets Chase Brown get a lot more of the routes
I assume,
out of the backfield.
Jake, are you looking at routes run tonight? Is that what you said you're looking at right now?
Yeah, he ran 32 routes tonight.
Did Burton run any routes tonight?
No. Burton ran 0 routes.
Wasn't targeted.
I don't think he even played a snap.
I don't think he was on the field.
He played 3. Wow. He had 9 snaps, 6 passing plays, and 3 run blocking plays, but he didn't run any routes.
Okay.
I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I looked for him a couple times.
Well,
I think that Jake, I would have to assume that the two tight end sets is also to protect because we can't block.
Oh, well, no, it's their only option. It's because they're trying to run more play action this year to protect Burrow. It's what we wanted them to do for a while. When they had Boyd, it was much harder to do because then one of those guys has to sit. Now there's really no wide receiver 3, because of their inability to scout college talent at this point. So they don't have good tight ends either. Like the guys behind Gesicki aren't good either, but they're playing. They're out there.
Sample did a nice job. He was all over the field tonight.
Right.
It's not going to show in the
Sample had
stat.
1 nice catch tonight.
The fact of the matter is, Jake, you probably blame Sample for being a number 2 pick. If he had gone later in the rounds, 4 or 5, we'd be looking at him going, you know what? He's a serviceable tight end.
Sure. No, I don't hate Drew Sample at all. The fact that Drew Sample is still on this team proves dividends. He's one of the only guys that are still remaining from 2019. There's not many of them. I can probably count them on one finger.
Tanner Hudson had a nice catch when he came across the.
I love Tanner Hudson. That's
a fun exercise.
He had a good catch tonight. And one thing I want to throw out there is for the 3rd week in a row, the combined yards on Chase Brown over hit, and they were around 70, and then they were 90. It was 110.5 tonight, and he got combined to over 123. So
I'm pretty sure there's 3 players from 2019 that are still on the team. It's Davis Gaither, Pratt, and Sample. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody.
No,
there's just 3.
Hubbard.
Yeah, sorry. Not Davis.
No, not ADP. He was in
Hubbard, Pratt, and Travion Williams. Is he still on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still on the team.
Well, there's 4.
So
did Hubbard dress tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was out there.
Does he ever? Wait, so we were just talking Chase Brown.
He's playing injured. Snaps. He's playing injured, so you got to cut him a little bit of slack. Not much, but cut him a little.
Miles Murphy outsnapped Hubbard tonight, and so did Osai.
Right.
Osai had a nice sack.
Well, Hubbard's going to have surgery in the offseason. So, he put off surgery to play with pain. So,
what was Murphy's stats?
Murphy,
he had a fine night.
Yeah.
2 pressures.
4 tackles.
3 tackles, 1 assist.
First round, Jake. I know you said he was young 2 years ago, but at some point, when does he become not so young anymore, where we expect something out of him more than just a few
3 tackles, 1 assist? Yeah,
I don't know. This was the most snaps he's played as a pro tonight, 34. So maybe they'll play him more.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we were talking about Callahan. We get him this week, so
yeah. Hey, I got to throw one thing out there. We were just talking about Chase Brown, and I never do this because it's cheesy, but I'm going to do it. For anybody that listens to the show and anybody that reads on Twitter, If you think for a second that the Bengals will or should draft Ashton Genty,
Get away from this.
you're an idiot. There are so many holes on this team
Right.
that we're not drafting a running back, and
No.
we have a pretty damn good one. This team doesn't need Ashton Genty. This team has 47 needs. We're not drafting
Yeah.
Ashton Genty. And
No, I want to go find a Micah Parsons in this draft. That's what I want to do.
There's a few of them.
Yeah, that's what we need in
Gotta-
this draft.
I want Mason
Zach,
Graham. I want Mason Graham from Michigan. I've said it for a year and a
Hey,
half.
that field goal attempt, Captain Zach put in the tank, and then the block punt muff happened. Zach was trying to lose that game. He wants one of those Michigan boys. Let me tell you.
So that was, and I hate to admit this, but when the punt was blocked, I kind of thought, okay, the Cowboys are going to get it, and they've got a good kicker, and we'll lose this game, and maybe it keeps our draft position, and anything we can do to get rid of this coaching staff, I'm in favor of. So, it's I don't know that we're gonna. And it's going to take, we've said this before, it's going to take Burrow going to Mike Brown and saying, hey, it's me or him. And that's how you get Zach out of the building. But
I paused because I had to use the facilities, and my daughter, like I said, was at the game, and all of a sudden she calls me, and she's like, they're chanting Who Dey, Who Dey, Who Dey. I'm like, for what? And then, of course, I fast forward, and I see the block punt, and I'm like, oh, God, we can't even lose when we're supposed to lose.
Hey, we only lost one draft position by winning. There's only one 4-9 team.
Yeah, we're not going to beat Denver. We won't beat Pittsburgh. Who's else? Cleveland. We might not beat Cleveland the way
Jameis
Winston. Yeah, so
God knows we can't pick anybody off. So
I mean, next week this may be our big 2-game winning streak, and then we lose out. We'll see what happens, but there was that whole devil's advocate thing. I thought, all right, I was definitely indifferent when the punt got blocked because I was already disappointed with the scoreless third quarter, and like I said, and I want to sign T, I want to sign Chase, I want to extend Hendrickson, and I want Taylor out of the building. That's my wish list. I want a new coaching staff. I want a Vrabel type. I want a guy like that. I want that Dan Campbell energy. We talked about this on the previous show about how jealous we are of the Lions because of the coaching staff they have, the culture, the feeling around the team. I mean, that I want that kind of energy, and we're not going to get that. Taylor's not a good coach, so.
At the end of the day, I'm not going to disagree with anything you just said. At the end of the day, though, it all starts in the recruiting or drafting.
Right.
And we just we have not hit enough in the elite side of it. When you're drafting and you're picking in the first or second round, you have to make your big go.
No, I'm going to let you finish. I'm quietly raising my hand.
He's raising his hand so he gets to speak next.
I mean, yes, we hit obviously with Chase and we hit with Burrow. That's not that hard. We hit with Higgins in the top of the second. But, I mean, you look at a lot of our picks, they just haven't hit. So you look at Dan Campbell, he's a great coach, but he's also got talent on the defensive side of the ball.
So, well, we hit with Chase Brown.
Take Detroit out of it because they are an absolute masterclass in building a winner and organizational structure right now.
Right.
But I'm going to respond to what you said because you basically said you're the drafting of players before coaching. There's nothing in, I was going to say San Diego. There is nothing on that Chargers team. There are no receivers. There are no running backs. They've got a couple cornerbacks and one or two of them are hurt right now. Khalil Mack is old and missing time. Nothing. That team should be 4-13 this year, and they're going to get the 5 or the 6 or the 6 or the 7 seed. That's coaching.
Right.
And coach can come in and change everything. And you know what? This defense does not look much different than it has the last couple years, and we've said it time and time again. If this was if our defense was 15th in the NFL,
right,
we'd be 10-4 right now, 9-5.
Yes.
Devin, you chewed me up and spit me out and then stomped on me about 6 games into the season when I said about coaching. And I don't remember what point it was, but I said he's not. I mean, we were talking about elite coaches. I did, the word was wrong. I corrected at the time.
You fucked up. You made a Mark will even remember. You fucked up.
No, not
Yes,
one bit. I was screaming for bloody murder then.
You said something about elite coaching. You said, I don't remember what
and
it
then
was.
I changed the word to just taking a great coaches, making players that much better. And
Well,
I
that's what we need.
Point now, but I'm just saying.
Right. But what you said to me at the Charger game was you said that Harbaugh was an elite coach because he changed the culture of the Chargers.
He is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I want that type of hire.
I was the happiest guy in the world when he went to the pros after leaving Michigan. He made that. I mean, he didn't have 5 stars. He made them into 5 stars by the time they graduated.
Right. I want that type of coach. We don't have that type of coach right now.
I agree with
this team is limited.
I'm not suggesting that we hold on to Zach, but if I had to pick between Zach and Lou, I'm taking Zach right now.
Well, I want them both gone.
They both should be gone. It's time
I want a new coaching staff.
I agree. But if I had to pick between one or the other, I'm saying. But I agree. They both have to go.
Yeah, I want a Vrabel type. I'm trying to think of who's out there. Is there anybody else out there but I want that Vrabel type of mentality that they can rally around.
Tobin has to go too.
So, well, and all this change is going to require Burrow to push for it because that's who Mike Brown's going to listen to, and Katie Blackburn and Troy Blackburn. That's who they're going to listen to. If Burrow insists on it. And now we're hearing that the Batmobile is not, it's kind of like, it was a comment, I think. He never said he got the Batmobile. So I don't think, and then I wouldn't buy it if I was him. But
it wasn't just a comment. I've seen him standing next to it.
Right, but it doesn't mean he owns it.
Yeah, well, I understand. But
I've had my picture taken next to a lot of, nice things, but it doesn't mean they're mine.
So. Yeah, Jake, this is how we finish. Jake, tell them where you can find your stuff.
Jake Circus Pod on Spotify.
There you go. And if you don't,
that was good, Heath.
There you go.
Yeah,
don't subscribe. Please subscribe. Support the channel. It's a show by fans for fans. We will be doing our preview of the Tennessee game this Thursday. Recap right after the game. So please just support the channel and hit the thumbs up. It helps us out with the YouTube analytics. And then tune into Jake's show, and you'll see him here on Thursday with a football pick. We could talk a little more college but I'm sure you'll give us is Army Navy playing later that day?
I will not have a pick in Army Navy.
You won't have a pick in Army Navy?
Actually, I think we can start our I can give out a hoops pick or two. So we can...
Go ahead, give out a hoops.
Right now for Saturday. It's a good slate on Saturday. So the Thursday show I'll give out a hoops pick.
There you go. Okay. So you guys can look forward to that. Jake's had some amazing money line picks this year, so you've missed out on some gambling opportunities if you haven't been tuning in and watching the whole show. So well, with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody. See you on Thursday.
Hoo day.
Hoo day.